Well, he's great at football, and he's certainly great at having a good time. I'm sure many of you have seen all the video from Rob Gronkowski's party cruise, but his partying ways have drawn a mix of reaction, particularly from other NFL players. Some have implied that there is a double standard when it comes to Patriots tight end. Giants cornerback Prince Amukamara tweeted the Gronk cruise ship and a couple of eyeballs. And then Texans Charles James said, but if Cam had a cruise ship, ... never mind, meaning Cam Newton. And then Amukamara responded, or OBG, LOL, meaning Odell Beckham Jr. So guys, do you believe there's a double standard going on with Gronk? Stephen A?
I believe the players have the right to make that argument. And what I also believe is important to mention is that let's be very, very clear here. The NFL players, whether it's Prince Amukamara or anybody else, they're not calling out Gronkowski. They're not calling out the league office. They're calling out us, not just the media, but the public. That's what they're talking about when they're alluding to the double standard. Anybody with sense is not going to have a problem with Rob Gronkowski party. If anything, you're jealous of him. You wish you were partying your damn self. That's what you're thinking like. Rob Gronkowski is unquestionably the best tight end in football. Over the last couple of years, he's had 2 1,100-plus yard seasons. We all know that when healthy, he's an absolute stud. He's virtually unstoppable. And with Tom Brady throwing him the football, this is why they've been to 5 consecutive AFC championship games. They are who they are. We know how legit and big time they are. But the flip side to all of that is that we live in a day and age where you see a whole bunch of folks being judge, jury, and executioners. Now, some would accuse us of doing so. What I pride myself and Skip and this show and being about is we judge what you do, not who you are. But you got a lot of people that judge who you are based on 1 or 2 things that you actually do. And I don't think we do that. I know I don't do that, and I don't think Skip does it either. And so when I look at it from that perspective, when they're talking about Rob Gronkowski and they're talking about a double standard, they're talking about whether it's pundits, commentators, or Joe Public at large that would sit up there and look at Cam dabbing and doing what he's doing. They're looking at the fact that he just had a kid and, he's not married, and, they're judging that. Well, hell, I'm a father. I'm not married. It's not something you're proud of. It's not something you're ashamed of, but I'll be damned if I feel I got to answer to anybody for what I do. So Cam Newton doesn't have to answer to anybody for what he does. But there are a whole bunch of people out there who believe that, they want to sit there and judge folks. And what happens is that it's not even the judging part that's bad. It's the inconsistency. If we live in a society where, listen, everybody's going to speak the same about a child molester, a rapist, a murderer, any kind of a criminal. The feelings are consistent. But when it comes to the moral, the moral authority out there, folks trying to be a moral authority, more often than not, it's inconsistent. With Cam, there's no crime involved, but you have some people who are going to judge him harshly. Whereas with Rob Gronkowski, you get away with it. Now they'll hide behind it. Well, it's not that he's black and Rob Gronkowski is not. It's that he's a quarterback and Rob Gronkowski's a tight end. Oh, please, stop it. We pick and choose who we want to judge and how harshly we want to judge them based on likability, based on how comfortable folks are with them, etc., etc. And with Rob Gronkowski, you're able to laugh everything off and dismiss it because A, he performs when he's on the field, and number 2, he's young and he's partying, and most people think about what they were like when they were that age. And so because of it, they're laying off. But what they're missing out, again, is the inconsistency about what they feel. If they were consistent across the board, no matter who it was, then it would be different. Prince Amukamara and beyond, they're pointing out the inconsistency.
Okay. Forgive me for this, but I'm going to put you on a little bit of a spot. Do you think that we, or the media, are giving Gronkowski a pass? What is your view of it?
I have no problem with Gronkowski. I think that the media, by and large, doesn't have any problem with it. But I do believe they're giving them a pass in this respect. If it were Cam or someone they didn't like, and they saw them partying like that where you knew a little booze was going to be involved and all of this other stuff, he would definitely be judged more harshly than Rob Gronkowski is.
Okay. Is it possible that some members of the white media are giving Gronkowski a pass because he's a big white lug of a tight end who parties hard and plays hard? Is that sort of how he gets off? It's like, it's okay because that's just who he is, right?
Sure, but my response to that, Skip, is this. You could be absolutely right. But here's what some folks, not most, not all, but some folks in white America need to realize. If a different segment of the populace feels victimized, it's not for you to define how
I agree
they
with
should
that.
feel.
I've always said that.
If that's how they feel,
you are correct.
That's how they feel.
That's why I'm trying to get to the bottom here.
Right.
Okay, now let me just speak from my perspective.
Sure.
I like the Patriots because I like Brady. I'm not as big a Patriot fan as I am a Brady fan, but because I often pick them the last 2 years to win it all.
Rodgers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I'm going to root for them, and I'm going to find every reason to criticize Gronkowski for what I think is maybe dangerous or almost daredevil-like behavior as far as his dancing goes. I'll be honest with you. I have tried and tried. I cannot criticize this man. Okay, let's step back. Okay, he's not married. He's never had a DUI. He's had no drug issues that I am aware of. No PED shortcuts here, right? He's known to show up on time every day and play hard.
Yep.
Not all bad. You said yourself he's the best tight end in football,
Absolutely.
so he's got that going for him. And now we're back to my pet peeve about nothing good happens in a nightclub after midnight. Well, at least this is a safer way to party to me because you eliminate the potential drunk driving because you walk to your room, okay? You're on a cruise, right?
Don't tip over in those shark-infested waters.
Well, that's a whole nother problem. That would be my problem with that. I would agree with that.
No, that'd be all our problem.
I think if I could be wrong about this, but I think there's a metal detector when you enter the boat for the first time where you can't get, maybe you could somehow get them on, but probably people don't have guns and knives on the cruise. Probably not. You never know, but probably not. I'm just saying the environment's a little bit safer than a nightclub, the typical nightclub environment where you're mixing with strangers. You don't know what they got going on. You don't know if they're packing or not. You don't know if they have a knife.
His family was there too.
So and his family was there, so whatever. And could he fall off the stage and break his leg or re-injure one of his old injuries? Sure he could. But in general, I got to tell you, I'm okay with this. I'm more okay with this than just going to some random nightclub and partying. So in this case, we're talking about the tight end. We're not talking about the franchise quarterback. That's a whole different ball game. If you are the face of the franchise, yeah, you're going to be under a more critical microscope than the tight end's going to be under. Is that fair? And that's Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning, whoever it is. You are representing the franchise, so you're going to be held more accountable than the big lug of a tight end is going to be held.
Here's what I don't like about this subject. I totally support Rob Gronkowski. I have no issue with anything that he's doing. But that's looking at it in a vacuum based on him. What you also have to look at is the fact that one could argue that he's almost as much of a face of the franchise as Tom Brady because without him, they never win. Okay, because he's that important.
That's fair.
He's
but
that.
But he's not the leader of the franchise.
I understand
In
that,
fact,
but
he's known as more of a follower than a leader.
Yeah, because you have Brady. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is that he's just as pivotal, just as important to the success of the franchise. And so when you consider that, the attitude that folks have, that's just Gronk being Gronk. It's an attitude that's accorded to the privileged few. And when a Prince Amukamara or anybody else steps up and says something about it, what they're highlighting is that the privileged few usually ain't one of us. And so now it resonates. Okay. And to elocute my point, or to accentuate my point even more, Skip, remember that time years ago when Don Imus got himself into trouble? My argument was, hey, all you got to do is apologize. You might not have known you offended folks. It was a joke. Okay. But now that you know you offended folks, bam, correct it, move forward. Rush Limbaugh when he worked here, same thing. It's not that if you intended to offend, if you didn't intend to offend folks, once it's been presented to you that you have offended folks, speak on it, apologize, move forward. Stuff like that. Chip Kelly, to a lesser degree. Riley Cooper scandal. Well, it's just a level of sensitivity that you're willing to show so people will know that you're sensitive to what they feel. The problem that we run across on too many occasions is that you have folks on the other side, meaning minorities, that get criticized, dissected, dare I say insulted for decisions that they make, okay? But then somebody else will do it, and then it's passe.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. That's what they're talking about here. What they're saying is, who would this have been accorded to somebody else? They use Cam as an example because he's the most recent. But in reality, what they're saying is, even if it were a Shannon Sharp or somebody like that, anybody, would the same have been accorded to them? You like somebody. You find them to be fun-loving. It's beautiful. I'll take it and bring it to this industry. Charles Barkley says...
You know what? I was just going to bring him up.
Charles
I just
Barkley,
wrote his
that's
name
right.
down right
Charles
there.
Barkley says stuff that one would deem... I love him, but he'll say stuff that one would deem controversial all the time. It gets laughed off. It's just Charles being Charles.
How about...
Let Stephen A. say it.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem, okay? And it ain't going to be a laughing matter either. And I could say exactly what Charles Barkley says verbatim, but if it comes out of my mouth, it's a different ball game. That's all I'm trying to say.
Even near the end of Charles's playing career,
right,
he was in one scrape after another, but it was just Barkley being, Charles
right,
being Charles.
That's right.
And you just say, well,
and in fairness to what you're bringing up, it's got nothing to do with ethnicity. It's about who people deem favorable.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is that it's very arbitrary and subjective. So in other words, I need to be liked in order for you to be okay.
Yep.
And something's less insulting, even though I might say the same thing that somebody else said because he's liked and I'm not. What sense does that make? Because that level of inconsistency doesn't move closer to a meritocracy. It moves closer to subjectivity, which rarely works in our favor. That's what they're pointing to, which is why they see something like Gronkowski and they have a real problem with it.
Heck, Charles Barkley, to finish this off, has spoken about wanting to be the governor of Alabama, running for governor, and after all he did is gambling issues, people would still say, yeah, okay, I'll vote for him. You right?
Listen, man, that's my man. I love Charles Barkley, but I wouldn't vote for him for the governor.
Okay, all right.
He knows that.
Fine.
He knows that.
All right.
Now, I love him, but I ain't vote for him for the governor of Alabama.
Back to Cam. Criticism or over-criticism. We got pre-Super Bowl criticism of Cam, and then we got post-Super Bowl. Pre-Super Bowl, I hang in there with what I kept telling you as we were in San Francisco leading up to the game. I felt like it was a little exaggerated that because one woman wrote one letter from Nashville, Tennessee to the Charlotte Observer, and it ran, and then she apologized for it, and she was mostly offended because her daughter was offended by Panther fans sitting in the end zone of a Titans game, and that they seemed to be empowered by Cam's longer celebration after the clinching touchdown, and they all started taunting Titans fans in the end zone, including her 9-year-old daughter. So she writes a letter to the editor. It's one of those don't hit send, use your 24-hour rule. You should just wait for a day, calm down a little bit. She did calm down, and then she wrote an apology. So my point is, off that one letter, all of a sudden, white America hated Cam Newton, and I couldn't get that. I just didn't. I didn't sense it.
But I've repeatedly stated to you, you don't know what emails he's received.
Okay, I don't know what emails. What you would see on Twitter?
I'm saying to you that what he has endured as Cam Newton, you don't know. You couldn't possibly know. Skip, you work with me every day. You might see something on Twitter. I'm called the N-word every day. That's
why you shouldn't read it.
People, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I've had people threatening to do things to me all the time. It's a given.
Are there racists out there? Yeah, you better believe it.
Wait a minute. And it ain't just, it's not about racism, too. Sometimes it's about people just not liking me. I don't think that every vitriol that's aimed in my direction is because of race. Sometimes it might be people that don't like me. I understand it. It comes with the territory. But it's not something that I express to you every day. It's a part of what we live with every day. And if I live with it, could you imagine what Cam has lived with?
Okay, I got it. So post Super Bowl, everybody seemed to criticize him for cutting short his post-game interview, right? You had some issue with it.
That's the only issue I have.
I didn't even have a big issue with it.
That's the only issue I have with it. But
my only issue was that he didn't try to go for the fumble at the end of the 4 minutes left.
The issue, and for me, the issue was the post-game, and this is important to say. Hold on, Prim, everybody. This is important to say. The reason why the interview, walking away from the interview mattered, and that was the only thing that mattered to me, is because you were dabbing and dancing all year long. You gave the impression that when everything is going well, you're fine. But when it's not going well, you can't handle it. So guess what? The maturation process that his daddy alluded to and everybody close to him, well, was it maturation or was it just that you were 15-1 and we never had any evidence to see where the maturation process is really going because you were too busy winning? Who don't know how to act when they win? Okay, so that's the point that I'm trying to make. So now, instead of ending the year on a high note, league MVP, Super Bowl appearance, all of this other stuff, you have now forced us to backtrack into what you were before your season, before the season. Now we have to look at everything that you were and then watch you this upcoming year and wait for you to lose before we could see whether that maturation process was real or not. All because you got up and walked away, when if you had just sat there for a few more minutes, we could have celebrated you all off season. That was my issue.
Okay. Got it.
So we got actually a tweet from Deion Sanders, and he says, players that make plays get away with things others can't regardless of their ethnicity.
Well,
he was tweeting at us, #truth. So thank you very much for that. So we'll finish up that discussion. Moving on to the NBA.